What we're faced with right now with the coronavirus is an expose on the nature of the capitalist system and, to a degree, the nature of some of the competing systems. What is the example being given by Cuba and Venezuela and the DPRK right now? The DPRK is essentially going into full hermit mode in order to protect themselves, going through full stringent government regulation, lockdown, in order to make sure that they ride this virus out with as much social peace and with as few infections as possible. Of course, the mainstream media would have you think that, unnamed South Korean intelligence official says X person with coronavirus was executed in the DPRK. And as usual, citation needed. Because some random person with no name and literally controlled by the South Korean government is not a legitimate source. But communist-run Cuba has once again set an example, not just for Latin America, but for the world to follow as well. A brigade of doctors was sent to Italy, to Lombardy, the most hit place by the coronavirus, and has begun giving healthcare to people there to help out the overworked medical system in the country as it is. The Caribbean island has sent an army of white robes to disaster sites around the world. This is something that they've done for a long time. They have given free health care to marginalized, particularly third world countries who need the help the most, and has given that voluntarily, asking nothing in return. And the doctors have volunteered to go as a part of their Hippocratic oath to do no harm, to help people in need. They even went to fight cholera in Haiti and against Ebola in West Africa in the 2010s. This is the 6th Medical Brigade Cuba has sent in recent days to combat the spread of the disease abroad. It also sent contingents to allies Venezuela and Nicaragua, as well as Jamaica, Suriname, and Grenada. In a time of crisis for the world, it has been the socialist nation of Cuba who has stood up to help its neighbors through these difficult times and has asked for nothing in return. Only the wish to protect human lives from the spread of this virus, and have gone to some of the most impoverished people in the world to help them. Even Britain, first world Britain, had to thank Cuba for allowing a British cruise ship that had been hit by the coronavirus to port in the island and enabling the evacuation of more than 600 passengers on board. They got to go home because Cuba allowed them to dock and then go through the whole process and ended up getting home. Because that's the kind of solidarity Cuba can show with people in need, even if they are from the British Empire. Now, speaking in a live televised event, the Venezuelan president, although not socialist, social democratic, but certainly along the lines of, towards the goal of socialism, Nicolas Maduro said that all commercial and residential rent, as well as capital and low interest payments, are to be suspended for 6 months. What the U.S. is still trying to figure out, and needs people who are creating strikes against landlords on rent payments due to their situation, Venezuela is already doing by decree in order to help people. There's the big difference. The capitalist state is dragging its feet on doing anything that's not just throwing money at the capitalist class. Anything that would help regular, everyday people. Oh, we have to debate about it. We have to have, the votes, and we have to delay those votes, and then we have to not vote on it. But unless it's like free money for the capitalist class, then it's done in a bloody instant. So here's Venezuela showing a tremendous example. Hey, this is what an extremely embattled country can do. A country that is being destroyed by U.S. sanctions can still manage to do this. But the U.S. can't seem to manage to do, 5 minutes of work for its own people? Public and private sector workers will receive a special government bonus, and wages of small to mid-sized companies will be paid out by the state until December. So those who have to stay open for necessary services are getting a bonus. They're getting a little bit extra in order to get through this for the risk of possibly being exposed by the coronavirus. A pre-existing workplace stability decree has also been extended to the end of the year, outlining job dismissals as a result of the quarantine. In other words, people are not going to lose their jobs. How much more could you ask for? A moratorium on rent and small loans, a bonus for putting up with all the BS of the coronavirus, and you have your job protected. My God, like we'd kill for that. That would be utterly amazing. We would love to do this. But what does the US get instead? You know what? What does the capitalist world give instead? Complete and utter uncertainty for the working class. Complete uncertainty. You don't even know if your job's going to be there tomorrow. You don't know if you're going to be able to pay your rent. Now you have to sign. You have no other choice. You got to sign up for this refusing to give rent to your landlord because you don't have it. And you're in a situation where it's not even your fault that you don't have it. You had a job and you lost it because of this. And they're still trying to decide whether or not they want to just finally get their act together and do at least a small UBI in order to help people. It could be easily afforded. It's cheaper than going to war. But instead, what has been done without question? Free money to banks, free money and bailouts to large companies, and of course, quantitative easing. Not that quantitative easing is inherently a bad thing. It's just that, well, it's a free handout for the capitalist class. It's not inherently bad to capitalism in general. It's just bad to the working class who has to suffer as a result. You're shoring up the banks with lots of liquidity. But the people who need to spend money in order to be able to have the system go don't get anything. As if that wasn't bad enough, the world is in a shortage of respirators. So these guys went out, they got a 3D printer, and they started 3D printing all those respirators, these particular pieces or what have you. So they started mass producing them on their own for $1 each. So the person who owns the patents decide that they're going to sue the people that are trying to help in an extreme emergency. They want people to pay thousands of dollars per respirator to their company rather than get a 3D printed one for $1. In the middle of a global crisis, regular everyday people are trying to help out however they can. This is an extreme exception, but it certainly shows that regular people can't help. Hey, you got a 3D printer and you can print up, you can make up all these respirators that'll help and sell them for $1, which is nothing. And that has to get shut down because bloody patent holder has to get paid. Never mind the fact that it's already a multi-billion-dollar, industry, business. But they're getting pissy over somebody just printing them, trying to save people's lives. In Italy, where there's not enough respirators, that if you're over 65, they will take out the respirator and give it to a younger person and then sedate the elderly person until they die. They're trying to help that. They're trying to save people's lives because there's not enough respirators. And this company sees fit to stop that from happening. What are we seeing? Directly, capitalism is trying to directly and is preventing people from receiving health care. Oh, it only happens because the free market says it's okay. And it happens, the market will provide. It's not providing. It is blatantly and obviously doing the exact opposite. It is killing people. Try not to let the libertarians hear that, because they tend not to accept reality very well. But that's what we're seeing. That's what we're looking at right now. That is the world as we are experiencing it. And it's monstrous. And I think it's so, so important in times of crisis like this, even in the first world, to point out that difference. If we are saved because of government-run healthcare, and people in America still don't recognize it as a superior system, there's no helping them at that point. There's nothing you can do to change their mind. They are brainwashed beyond any level of any ability of independent thought whatsoever. There's just absolutely no helping them. And that may be the reality that we have to face, because we don't know if this is going to get worse. I think humanity will survive it. In fact, I'm fairly certain capitalism will survive it. If capitalism has proven anything, it's its dynamicism and being able to survive crisis. It's always going to go into crisis. But so far, it's always been really good at pulling its own ass out of the fire. And it'll probably pull its ass out of the fire again. So, we have every reason to be positive about this. We can survive. And I'm confident that we'll make it. But it's high time we recognize how awful the capitalist system has been for this, and how it is directly killing people and not helping the way free market ideology would have us believe. And it's high time that gets fully recognized. Thank you for watching. If you like this program, then please head over to my Patreon page and set up a monthly donation. It's your donations that keep this program running. Also, if you would like, please rate, comment, subscribe, and share in various social media.